Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, one half a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us.
Hell yeah.
They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second.
Let's make things great. Let's make this podcast better and teach me how to edit. I need to edit my music and then make this a lot more smooth. We are talking today about kind of whatever I feel people want to talk about. I know here in LA, a big thing was I want to say police chief, but our sheriff, Lee Baca, former sheriff of Los Angeles, was indicted and convicted of all things smuggling a cell phone into the sheriff's station. No, he wasn't smuggling it. Again, distracted. Somebody was being, I guess, beat by the guards and the sheriffs, and they launched an investigation. The FBI did, and the only way to, I guess, get information, get intel, would be to give somebody on the inside a cell phone where they could, I don't know, I imagine just report stuff as it happens. I don't know if they could record anything, but obviously you're not going to get a Boy Scout to do it. It has to be a convicted felon by definition to do it. So it's on one hand, it's one of those things to where if I'm, let's say I'm talking to a Jehovah's Witness or something, which I love Jehovah's Witnesses. If we get some listeners that go to the Kingdom Hall, hey, God bless you, Jehovah bless you. But I think we can point out our differences. In any event, and what happens when I do is they say, oh, well, what did you get that information? Instead of, well, is the information pertinent or is it not? It'd be like if you had pictures of your girlfriend cheating on you, would you say, dude, where'd you get those pictures? I can't believe you got those pictures off from a known person that is known to be a liar. Well, okay, that's fine, but are you looking at the pictures or are you not? If they're true and you do, if you are concerned about your relationship and the truth, you will look at those pictures, deal with it, and then okay later on, let things work themselves out as to the source. But when that becomes the topic, then maybe you're not as neutral as you would like to be. In the sheriff's case, what it is you have the Lee Baca was saying, oh, well, I'll never give a cell phone to a career criminal. And it's like, yeah, well, okay, well, what about ultimately the information that he had? And I guess this is where it gets tricky, is it's, okay, well, it's not whether we were beating inmates, it was that you obstructed justice. You told the FBI agent that you threatened them, you got in the way of the investigation, you moved the person around. And, here's my problem with all this. Again, I try to be as neutral as a, gear lever in the middle of a column, is you have a system which, to get in the system, if you're convicted, you're not just a bad guy. You've probably been bad more than once to actually get caught and then to get convicted. you've done a lot of bad things, and you're ultimately why I can't live in certain areas because the crime rate's so bad. You're why I gotta, lock all my tools down. You're why the world has to stress. You're why a lot of people get raped. You're why, I can go on and on and on about why, an area that has a lot of felons, gang members, what have you, they have this area, and it's a third world country, where you can't enjoy Americana, so to speak, because you have all these losers that are breaking the law on an everyday basis. And so it's hard for me to, I always say, lend a sympathetic ear to somebody that I know is contributing to the demise of the American way. But then on the other hand, you have, okay, if these cops are going to sit around and say, all right, who do you want to beat up next in jail, then that's no good either, because if I ever wind up in jail for something, let's say I'm in a bar and somebody grabs my girlfriend, or my wife, I should say, I'm trying to put everybody in the conversation, and I hit said person, and said person falls back and busts his head open and bleeds out, and next thing you know, we are catching a case and we do jail time. The last thing I want to do is go to jail and have it every man for themselves. I do want there to be some organization, hey, you're here to do time. You're not here to be the victim of whatever a gang wants to do, whatever the deputies want to do, et cetera, et cetera. So, I understand both sides, but in the end, I still have to lean toward, okay, what would happen if the criminals disappeared tomorrow? We'd have a better way of life. What would happen if all the police officers disappeared tomorrow? It would be anarchy. So I tend to lean, my needle tends to favor that crowd more. Not that the police are saints. The cops are like anything else. There's absolute power corrupts absolutely. You and I, we have to be on a Bluetooth or hands-free. Our phone has to be on some sort of cradle. But a cop will drive by and he'll have his phone on his ear that he's holding. And I guarantee you, that's not a call he's taken from a 911 caller and he's trying to get information and he's no, it's him calling to find out, how much is it to get Spanish tiles on his roof, or should he go with a clay? And so it's there's that, and that is obvious as the day is long. And some of you are going to say, oh well, he, a lot of times we have to call because we want to get the information from somebody, and it's personal, and when it's over CB it's public, or the radio it's public. Yeah, 9 times out of 10, okay, and that's just the way it is. It's professional courtesy. I know, there are two Americas. They're the ones where a cop's speeding all day, blowing lights, and now that he's off of work, guess what he's gonna do? He's gonna speed. He's gonna blow lights, because if he gets pulled over, guess what he's not gonna get? He's not gonna get a ticket. If you think I'm wrong, how many cops have you seen in traffic school? None, because they don't get tickets. How many judges have you seen in there? None, because they don't get tickets. And when they came out with the red light cameras, I think they found them unconstitutional in the end. Shocking. Why? Because, well, what happens when you or I run a red light? We get pulled over, we get a ticket. When a cop runs a red light, he gets pulled over, and conveniently he's looking for his insurance card, and oh well, I have to let you know I do have a gun because I'm off duty, and pulls out. Somehow that just magically appears in the conversation, and they find out that somebody's a police officer, works for the city. Has nothing to do with being pulled over. Really shouldn't even mention it, but whatever. So that comes to the surface. Well, guess what happens when they run a red light? They get a ticket in the mail. They can't conveniently pull their badge and show it to the camera as they're going by. That's just the way it is. So you also, and as I speak, I see a highway patrol on the side of the road looking down. I'm sure he's not texting anybody or Instagramming anybody, right? Anyway, by the way, there's plenty of career criminals patrolling. We could or you can patrol with them, follow them around. So you have this cop that all of a sudden he's getting a ticket in the mail. Well, he can't fight it like he normally would, or try to get out of it like he normally would. It's just scientific, and I think that's great. But then I think, in my opinion, what happened is judges started getting tickets. Whoa, this is not good. So magically they found it unconstitutional, and they got rid of the red light cameras, or at least they said you didn't have to pay them in LA. It's an honor system. And then they do that. There's the speed cameras that are on freeways that will catch you speeding and send you a ticket in the mail. And all those things are going to go away because they're going to when you already know what you want, you'll find an argument to get what you want. And they're going to find a way to say it's unconstitutional, blah blah blah, and they'll go back to just writing tickets to people that aren't cops or aren't working for the city or judges or whatever. So anyway, there is professional courtesy. So that being said, if I was a cop, I would want that courtesy too. I would want to get out of a ticket. So I'm not saying they're bad because of it. So before you get too upset at me, just say, look, I understand you're taking advantage of it. I would too, but you got to understand the people on the other side. They're like, wait a minute, we're under the same law, so why don't you either one start doing the same thing we're doing, or lighten the load, lighten up the law. The thing about cops is here's the bottom line is, let's say you're a group of houses. Let's say there's 100 houses, just use a round number, and you guys are all working your ass off, and you're getting a little bit older, long in the tooth, and you're worried about somebody breaking in, and there's some people driving around that look unruly. So you say, we're going to hire a security guard. You hire a security guard, and then that security guard starts driving around patrolling. You guys are all paying the security guard. That's the only reason he is there, is because you guys are paying him, and he wants to make you guys happy, and everything's fine. Well, the police department is not much different than that. We don't want to police ourselves. We want a group to do it that are trained and specialize in patrolling, etc. So what we do is that we pay our taxes, and then the police are there. Well, now the police have power, and they have a budget and everything else. They take on a different role, and it would be like, now the security guard is driving around and you have your garage door open. He's like, nobody's ever complained about a garage door. Nobody complains, but he's like, wait a minute. If I write a ticket, you're going to give me $25. Okay, so he goes through his books. Garage door open. And that is a rule at some associations. Crazy. So he goes, writes him a ticket. And then he starts doing this. And then the problem comes is when now you got graffiti and the people are looking the other way. There's a homeless guy there, and he's setting up camp in your front lawn. He's looking the other way. And he's just out writing tickets, 2-1. And you're like, wait a minute, this is not why we hired you. And that's ultimately what we have to do with the police. But the problem is they think that they're the military, and they kind of come down on you. And there's so many laws that it is impossible to be under compliance all the time. It is. And for those of you that are saying, just obey the law, Brent, the problem is, if I followed you around for a week, I could tell you all the things you're doing that aren't under compliance. Oh, you wash your car? Okay, you're not following the law. Unless you're reclaiming all that water, sucking it up, and putting it, in a reclamation center somewhere, you're under so I can go down a big long list of things that you're not doing that aren't, whether if you got a fireplace, where you're burning on the wrong days, on and on. So the point is, if once you're on the radar, if they don't like you, now you're gonna get busted. I had a friend. I was talking to him on the phone, and he was working. While I was talking to him, somebody cut him off, and so he lit him up. He turned on his lights, sirens, pulled him over, and gave that guy a ticket. And that's just because he was pissed. It wasn't because of safety or anything else. He's just mad. Where you and I are driving down the street and somebody cuts us off, we just have to smile and wave. Hopefully with all of our fingers. So I guess what I'm saying is, everybody has their their reason to do what they do according to